Alright guys, we got a special guest today. Peak Pies, Kerri. Peak Pies is let Kerri talk more about it, but it's a pie company based in Vancouver, British Columbia, and also in Whistler, where they make pies, but not the pies that we're accustomed to in North America. Or do you guys do fruit pies? Or is it just meat pies?
We've brought in some fruit pies because...
Just to make me happy?
Yeah, exactly. So we have about 10 to 12 savoury, so meat, vegetarian. We've even got a vegan pie now. And then we have like 2 sweet pies, so apple and berry.
So did I pronounce that correctly? Peaked pies?
Peaked pies,
Peaked
yes.
pies.
So peaked, we got that name from, so Whistler was our first store, and we sell the pies, they're individual handheld meat pies, so they're 1 per person size. And
how big? Like
they're
6
about
inch?
about 5.5 inch diameter.
Okay.
So it's depending on how much you eat. It could be a snack. For me, I could have just 1 pie and that's good for me for lunch.
Yeah.
But the peaked comes in with sort of the shape, turning it into a bit of a mountain by adding mashed potato, mushy peas, and gravy on top.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
That's what okay.
So when you come in the store and you say, I'm going to get a chunky steak and mushroom, and our staff say, do you want to get it peaked? And you go, oh, that sounds good. Then they do a scoop of mash, scoop of peas, and some gravy on top.
It looks like a peaked mountain.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
So that's where the
a
name
little bit of
comes
the
from.
Whistler thing,
Yeah.
I guess. So, Kerri, tell me about yourself. Like, how'd you get started? Your background's Australian.
Yeah.
What brings you to Vancouver or Canada?
So I've been in Canada now for 10 years, and first came over here to do a season. In Australia, we don't have snow or much of it, and a lot of Australians come to Canada. It's very easy to get a visa, a work visa, and we go and work in one of the ski resorts to experience snow and mountains. And I met my partner there, Alex, and pretty much we've been together ever since. And
Alex, I'm disappointed you're not here.
he's looking after Bub. So we've we got together, and he's actually the person who loves being in the kitchen and baking and making pies. I'm really just the research and development, and I eat them.
Not just, that's important.
Yes, I eat them and love them, and he makes them for me. So when I started came to Canada, and I realized there was like nowhere to get a meat pie from. So we grew up on these. We have them at the school canteen. You can get them, in the gas station, but you can get them in like gourmet bakeries. Like they're a product that you could get a $1 pie or a $10 pie, and it's all about the quality and etc. So, but coming over here, there wasn't any pie, meat pie variety. And so I was talking about these, and I've got some Australian friends who are talking about them, and Alex caught on with like, what are you talking about, these pies? And he looked them up of what they are, and he started actually making them in the kitchen for myself at home and for our friends, and everyone was just like, okay, these are so good. You guys, you always joke, oh, you should open a store, and we're in Whistler, and there's a lot of Australians there, and we're like, we could actually probably do this. And so it took us about 2 years of coming up with recipes and business plan. Now I say 2 years, we're obviously skiing in the middle of all of that as well. It's very loose 2 years. And Peaked Pies was born 2013.
Did you go right into retail, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. We sort of thought, we just want to open up a little cafe. So we've got a little sort of 650 square foot space in Whistler Village, and we make everything there and sell it out the front. And we actually didn't know how busy we were going to be, so when we opened, the idea was Alex was going to cook and then I was going to serve out the front, and we had a lineup out the door that we were calling our friends, and luckily our friends basically dropped everything, and we needed about 10 staff.
Sorry, the first day? Like
the
when
first
you opened?
day, yeah. So we've had a lineup out the door.
Was there advertising that was going on? Nothing, just
because we didn't have any money. So it was just a poster on the window.
Yeah.
And at the time, we didn't know how many pies that we would need, so we were open until sold out. We actually made usually more than what we needed, so we sort of 9 p.m. was our aim to stay open till. And then anything that we had left over, we just took around to all the local businesses, the hotel concierge, to get the word out. So that was
that's a good way of advertising.
That's how we basically started, was like dropping off pies to people. Yeah.
So from day one, you had a lineup, and it hasn't stopped.
That's right. Yes.
It's really good.
So
what made you get into Vancouver?
All the people who come and visit us in Whistler that was like, oh, we would hear people say we've driven up from Vancouver to come and get pies, and so we're like, okay, let's have a look to see what we can do down here, because we've got to fill this void. So we opened in Vancouver 3 years ago, and we're in the process of we're waiting for our building permit in Burnaby Heights, right near Choffee's.
Interesting.
All based on people calling us saying, you need to open here, you need to open here.
Yeah. So recipe ideas, are you just trying things out in the beginning?
The plain meat pie, which is a ground beef and basically gravy, that was the hardest one to make. So we call that in our store the traditional Aussie. But if you walk into a pie shop in Australia, it's the plain pie. It's the basic. That was the hardest one to make because it had to be perfect. So that took us about 5 times to get the recipe and the flavour exactly as we wanted it. That doesn't seem
like a long time, 5 times.
I suppose it doesn't. All the other ones then we sort of maybe took 1 or 2 goes at. But the great thing about savoury pies, or with any pie, I suppose, is you can be eating a dish. You could be eating a spaghetti dish and be like, this would be really good inside delicious pastry, and then you just kind of make it. So the ones that we have are sort of your traditional pies you would find in the Australian bakeries, because we want people to come in and be able to get their favourites from when they either visited or lived in Australia or New Zealand or England. Mm-hmm. But the butter chicken pie, that's from just loving, our local Indian butter chicken from across the street at our back in Whistler. And we've got a chicken apple and brie. I think that was from a sandwich we had. Once was like, oh, this would be
This is good in a pie.
The roll we've got right now, which is because we're close to Christmas, is our turkey cranberry. So that's basically turkey with carrots and yams, and then we do a dollop of cranberry sauce, and then with the mash and peas and gravy on top, it is like you're
getting me hungry.
Turkey dinner. So that's where the recipes come from now. It's sort of, we've got our staples.
Alex, get here.
Yeah.
Come over, Alex.
We've got our staples, but we've got whatever we find out in the world that tastes delicious. We'll put that in a pie.
So what were you doing before Peak Pies?
Just working in hospitality. Still working in hospitality, but in hotels. And so was Alex
on the restaurant side? Or
no, in the accommodation side. So
and Alex?
Same thing.
Same thing? Yeah. So none of you had experience in kitchens?
Nope.
So you don't know how the numbers worked, or like the things that go into a kitchen, like the infrastructure, and none of that?
I worked at McDonald's when I was 14.
Yeah, I worked there too, but I can't do any of
that. So I knew, don't lean if you can clean.
Yep.
Alex did go to school for culinary management and restaurant management at Camosun over in Victoria. And I think after he did that course and then started working in restaurants, he was sort of like, oh, this is like way too much work for way little profit. Mm-hmm. And then got into working in hotels. And then when I sort of came up with the pie idea, and it just sort of made sense to both of us. So that's where, he sort of pulled his books out that were, you've got dust collecting on them. And we're able to have a little bit of knowledge, but there's a lot of stuff that you can find like online these days of...
Yeah.
What your labor costs should be, what your food costs should be, all of that. As long as you enjoy researching, I suppose.
Restaurants is a numbers game. I never worked at a restaurant besides McDonald's, but to me that's not a restaurant. That's a process that's been around for a long time, and anyone can go in there and run it because the process is so great. But most of the small restaurants it comes down to a numbers game, right? Labor cost, food cost. Your profit margin and whatever else is in there, right?
Yeah,
price
absolutely.
per head, how much your lease is. It's all numbers, right? You need to know exactly what this burger is going to cost or this pie is going to cost, and how much are people going to pay when they come in here.
Yeah, and I actually, to give credit to McDonald's, there is a bit of research you can do online to find out what their actual food cost is and what their labor cost is and what they, they're with packaging and so forth. So you do have a bit of a benchmark because they are very, very successful, obviously. So,
but don't forget, McDonald's makes their money from real estate.
That's another thing as well. Yeah. So when people have asked us if we're ever going to franchise, then we can also look at that model of what they do as well. So you can pull a lot of things of what they've done really well out of there. Sure, their food might not be fine dining cuisine, but the business model
depends
of what...
who you ask.
There you
the
go.
apple pie is damn good.
They are good.
At 2 in the morning, 2 for $1. Damn good.
I did work there for from 14 to like 4 years, so I suppose, but during high school. But it's Alex also worked for Starbucks, so he's pulled a few things that he's learnt from there and the way they manage it.
I was just going to mention that
because the biggest thing with people that we've seen with restaurants and when we've gone to get financing and when that's pretty much the biggest hurdle we've come across. They're like, oh, no way, you are in the worst industry. You will die. There's no chance in hell that you'll succeed. And that is where you have to look at where you can get, look at it in a business sense, and looking at McDonald's in a business sense, Starbucks in a business sense, and go online and research these big companies, small companies, and how they have managed to succeed over all these years. That's where it's at. You've really got to have that business sense of you. Someone who is a cook and loves cooking and doesn't want to look at, as you said, your numbers and keeping everything absolutely exact, needs to bring on someone else who loves that side of things, or they probably will end up in that statistic, unfortunately.
Me and this guy get along because he's good at creative. I hate it, can't stand it, can't do it, suck at it, and I'm good with the number side and business side. Yeah, that's it.
You need in partnerships, and that's where Alex and I have actually, we've been together for 10 years, and we butt heads and are complete opposites and fight like anyone would when you've also now had a new little baby to throw in the mix, but we do the exact opposite things with Picked Pies. So he does all the recipes and those numbers and deals with our suppliers and understands, the rent and negotiations and building the new restaurants, whereas I'm the people side. So I look after, HR and, look after the marketing side of things, and I suppose he's all the stuff you can touch, and I'm all the stuff that, is the emotional dealing with that.
He's the book. Yeah. Right. He's the book, and you're the one that sells the book.
Mm-hmm. I think we're very, very lucky in that sense that we found each other, and anyone that comes to us and says, oh, we want to work with our partner, it's like, okay, you need to write down what you're good at and what you do. And if you both love doing the same thing, you might want to, I don't know, do you have to really...
you guys can consult. Other couples that want to get into business together, seems like you guys know what's going on. It's because that's one of the things I get in being in my business and running the mortgage company is I do a lot of business financing as well, and there's a lot of times where I talk to couples and they want to get into it. Go talk to somebody else that's actually started this, because it's hard. Oh, it's really hard. You got home to deal with. Most people leave home to go to work to be themselves or whatever it is, right? To be alone. You don't get that.
I don't know how personal this is getting, but I did have a friend of mine who wanted to get in and work with, his partner. I said, imagine a boss that you hated, and then imagine having to sleep with them. And he's like, what? So I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because there's times you want to absolutely throttle them and kill them and like, get out of my sight, and then you've got to go and get in the same bed together.
You choke to a point, but you can't kill them, right? Because you need them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's tough, but at the same time, there's no one else you'll trust more than that other person. So, and I'm sure you can definitely find that in other partnerships as well, but it's...
You don't sleep with them.
Well, that's true.
It's a big difference.
That is true.
So I don't think you'll find that.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. So.
There's always, different ways at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Where it comes down to.
Yeah.
So we ask our community questions, and I think we should just get into the questions here. And
absolutely.
This is coming from LinkedIn. It's from Katie. When considering starting a restaurant, what would help you decide a location in an area where there's food business everywhere? what as a customer would draw you to a new food establishment?
That has actually, we look for places with like food places, because you just think of it, if you don't know what you want to eat, you're going to end up in an area where you've got choices, or if you're out with a group of people and someone wants this and someone wants that, so you want to go somewhere, like we always look for a place that already has established food places, A, because people are already going there to get food, and B, they're not necessarily looking at it as competition, but you're drawing people in for food, and that's where we've been the most successful.
Consumers' mindset, when they want to eat, they're going to go to an area where there's going to be tons of restaurants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
They're not going to go to, next, like a farm place where there's going to be one restaurant and nothing for another 10, 15 kilometers or miles away.
Now, we would also look at, depending on what type of a restaurant someone wanted to open, if they wanted to open a coffee shop, I would necessarily go somewhere where there might be a Starbucks and a Blends and something else on the corner. But looking at, is there other, what type of a coffee shop do you want to be? Or what type of a restaurant? Do you want to be a quick grab and go? So do you want to be near a Starbucks? Or do you want to be next to a McDonald's to not necessarily compete, but you don't want to be maybe a cheap place in amongst a whole bunch of really expensive fine dining potentially, or really expensive fine dining in amongst what's known as maybe a $2 alley or something like that. So
you know what, I agree with you there, but here's another take on it. I would love to be that $2, $5 place in the high-end area after 9 p.m.
Yeah.
They've eaten.
Absolutely.
They're done. Now we have a couple of drinks in me. You know what? I need some munchies, right? And the hotel's closed. The high-end restaurants closed. Where are they going? And another thing, living in downtown, learning about this stuff, there's a big community of staff in those hotels, those restaurants that need to go somewhere to drink and have a bite. I think it's...
Yeah.
I think to have that little place in an area like that can work.
Absolutely. I think being a restaurant in amongst absolutely no restaurants, that would be something that I'd be scared of.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
So I will ask then, firstly, coming down into Vancouver, obviously different market.
Yes.
Maybe similar demographic, but in terms of real estate and all that, how was that process for you guys coming from? I don't know when. I figured when you got into Whistler, obviously it was probably maybe a little bit different.
Yeah,
too, but
it's so we right now it's really tough for restaurants in general to find affordable locations. That's why you don't see Peaked Pies in downtown, but we're in the West End. Right. The rental rates are absolutely soaring, and it's going to be really, really hard for someone to open up a restaurant as such that does have that low profit margins if they've never opened up one before. Coming from Whistler, we knew we had a product that definitely worked. Would it work in Vancouver? Well, fingers crossed, but we still knew it worked. So we did take a risk on paying more for rent in a little bit of a bigger space, because that's the space we found. But it's definitely harder to find spaces now, and rents are going through the roof. That's why we're going out to Burnaby Heights, which is our next location, rather than coming downtown as well. Yeah,
you saying that, I'm a big believer in Uber Eats and Foodora and Skip the Dishes, and other cities and countries have different delivery services. I really like, I don't know the word for it, but a kitchen that is not open for the public.
Yes.
Right? So you have this kitchen where you're preparing the food and you're selling this stuff online, and it's being shipped via one of these companies, or if you want to start something else where you actually deliver it. I really like that type of company, that setup. I think the markup is much lower. Your lease is going to be much lower, because you're not going to be in the city now. You can start this anywhere, any industrial area, right? You can, as long as they have the permits where you can cook and prepare. and then just sell this online.
Yeah, as long as your delivery is not, you've got to remember that your food needs to hold and travel for a certain amount of time. So you can't be too far away, or you're going to lose the quality of your food. Right now, I know that if you look online, I follow a lot of the business websites, magazines in the industry in Australia right now who have had Uber Eats, Deliveroo, all of that for probably about 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. And restaurants are really suffering over there. They're starting to drop like flies just because they're not making any money. The shift of consumers using those apps to order, the delivery companies have essentially bumped up their commissions as well because they sort of can, and the demand's there. However, restaurants are making then obviously far less. So there's a bit of a push from actually the restaurant industry of Australia is actually urging consumers to start going back into the stores, or you're going to lose the stores that you once could just drop in and get a coffee or as you're walking past somewhere.
Yeah.
So
when do those two start merging is my question.
Yeah.
Right? Like McDonald's has the power to do this already. Right? McDonald's can switch easily, saying that, you know what, instead of having a restaurant of 100 seats, we're going to cut this back to like 20 seats because we know most of our traffic now is going to be coming from Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes or wherever it is.
Yes.
Right? So those guys can move fast, but these smaller ones.
Yeah. If you want to just have big chain restaurants to choose from, that could be the way it would head. But I, as a small business who, when we get orders from those companies, when we're covering our food and our labor cost, we're not covering rent, we're not covering utilities, we're not then making any money in the store, which then if anything breaks, we don't have any in the back pocket there. So that's how they get you when they come in and they sign up to this service. And then yes, it is, for me it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm paying staff and to be there anyway. Food, it's good for me to have turnover, so you've got consistently fresh product. But if the tables switched to where it was more of those companies ordering than people coming in, we would have to probably close the doors.
Yeah, like I don't think high end will ever change. I think that would be the same. You want to. There's Friday night, there's Saturday night, Thursday night, whatever. Somebody wants to do it, to go out and do that stuff, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But like sitting in the office here, I get takeout. Well, I go and get the stuff like at least once a week. Right? Like why?
Yeah.
I know it's like 10-15 minutes of my time, especially in downtown when you have the lineup. You're gone almost 20 minutes. Like why? When I can order and have it dropped here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I look at it that way. I do not like the restaurant business. From as a businessman, I do like those numbers don't do anything for me.
No.
But I will look at it if I can have my own kitchen and do delivery service. I think that works.
Yeah, and there's I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's actually has a kitchen and he has a restaurant, but he runs now 2 or 3 restaurants from that one restaurant, but it's all the online stuff. So, it's definitely something
this business comes down to advertising now.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like how hard could you advertise on social to get these guys at the right time?
Yeah.
At
absolutely.
2 a.m, during Sunday, during football game, during Saturday, during hockey, can you reach them, or whatever, daytime TV, whatever it is, right?
Absolutely.
How do you reach these people?
And I think that's where anyone who loves cooking and loves being a chef and wants to get into the restaurant industry will depending on what sort of a restaurant they want to open. I'm having to, exactly what you're saying there, I'm having to constantly think, and Alex and I are constantly having discussions about how we can change and move forward, what we can do. We've just added, got a liquor license, added beer on tap to our Denman Street location, just because.
So that brings in traffic. That's a different business.
Yeah. So you have to constantly evolve and change and stay ahead of the times, and in the restaurant world, and be open to that and be excited for that, rather than like worried about that.
Look,
I suppose.
if somebody is a chef, and I got a few friends that are chefs, right? If you want to start your own business, become a private chef. Right, on weekends, on weekdays, like right now, private chef business, if you're in it and you know how to advertise and market, this is the greatest time to do it right now.
Absolutely.
During Christmas time, people have dinners at home. Companies will have a lot of big companies. They don't want to have the big parties anymore.
Yeah.
First of all, it costs too much. The insurance is crazy, right? Especially when somebody starts drinking, and the hotel costs and everything else. This is like very expensive, right? A lot of them have boardrooms and do stuff there, lunchtime and whatever it is, dinner, lunch, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a perfect time to have personal chefs that's coming out of the home, the office, wherever it is.
Yeah.
And cooking and preparing everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And in saying that, for what we do at Peaked Pies, the whole foundation of why we opened was because we want people to try an Aussie meat pie, because I know how amazing they are, and our aim eventually is to get them into as many hands as we can, whether that be through like wholesale distribution or other ways that we can do it. But we have sort of one simple product that we've created that's where the plan sort of is going, of how can we get these out to as many people as we can in that sort of a sense. Because the foundation of it all is, when I say, like, if you're a chef, try not maybe open your own place, but find someone who you can work with to do that. Because if you love what you do and you've got a particular product you want to get out there and it's good, people will come.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So,
but just the main thing here is having that attention from the consumers to come in, right? That's I think that's the challenge. I think a lot of chefs know how to cook and cook really, really well.
Yes.
But to get them into the location through marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of cast iron, like cast iron pots and pans
okay,
and
yep,
things like
right,
that. Love it, right? I don't know how, but I just do. Do you guys make any pie in cast iron and
No.
serve with that?
No, we don't.
Okay, that's the Sunil pie.
Well, we might have
That's
to
the
give it a
Sunil
go.
pie. Yeah.
So,
Just make it in the cast iron.
no base?
No, base in the cast iron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They have to eat it there. You can't take it.
Yeah. No, that'd be okay. Well,
Add some beer to it too, and I'm there. That's the Sunil combo.
As a beer to drink or beer in the pie?
No, beer to drink.
But, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, come in March. We do a steak and Guinness. So.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll just add quickly. How are you guys operating within Skip or Foodora? Are you guys doing any of that?
We're doing Foodora, and we just signed up to DoorDash just to sort of expand it a little bit. And Foodie, who they do sort of office event parties. So so we're on that as well. So and we get like a decent amount of people that come through it. The way that these platforms work is they come in and they give you a big tablet to use, and so if you want to be on like all of them, you would need a separate counter space for tablets to then be accepting orders. So for us right now, we don't even have the space, as most restaurants who have sort of built before this sort of a boom kind of happened without thinking that we would need a space to put 5 tablets if we wanted to be on 5 different ordering platforms. So people come in and they're like, oh, you want to be on our platform. It's like, if you can find a place to figure out where your tablet's going to go, but we just don't have the space to add more. Right. Add more tablets, and then for our staff to then be trying to serve our customers that come in through the door that are making us our money and actually helping us grow our business, as opposed to then the ones that are coming through on the tablets. I just worry a little bit about the confusion of which orders are coming through when you've got that many. So I haven't actually I can't find anyone who's in the restaurant industry at the moment who does customer facing orders and then is on all platforms. Most people are just on like 1 or 2, and I think for that reason that it's just can get probably a bit too much with all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it might play into this a little bit. I'm not sure if I completely understand this question, but I thought it was somewhat relevant. It's from LinkedIn. I posted a while back about the sale of my current business and our new venture, a meal prep kitchen. I've recently been speaking with a guy that does our print ads, and he's been telling me about ghost kitchens and the growing trend being a part of a $27.8 billion industry. Any thoughts? I'm led to believe this would be able to let us sell our healthy meal preps, but also tap into other aspects of online food ordering. It's from Wes.
So by the sounds of it, he has a kitchen already, and wanting. There's a ghost kitchens. That's exactly what all this is. It's people who are trying to reduce their overheads, because when you have the labor and the food costs, in most restaurants it's about 50 to 60%, and then Foodora, they're taking 25%. So there's really not much left to pay for rent, utilities, and pay yourself. So that's where these ghost kitchens are coming about. So depending on what rent is, it is definitely a way. They're looking to sell their business, or to actually use their kitchen to have other people maybe rent it.
It's funny, he put some numbers in there, 28 billion. I wonder what that number was 5 years ago versus what that number is going to be 10 years from now or 5 years from now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I think that's going to be
who knows
growing.
if that number's correct or not. I mean, this is from the guy, but it would be interesting to see what that number is.
I think the easiest way to find that is, I'm not sure what, like, I haven't really searched. I know what these companies do, like Foodora and Skip the Dishes and Uber Eats. I think the best way to do it is find the public company and see the financials and see how much income they're making from, based on 2 years ago, a couple of quarters ago to today, and then what the projection is, and just look at it backwards.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, they're running a business to make money, and they do, as a restaurant who's going in as a ghost restaurant and wanting to try and get more orders or grow your business that way, you really, really need to look at numbers so closely, because another thing with running through Uber Eats and Foodora, as I said, like in Vancouver right now, they come in and they can offer 15 to 20%. As I said, in Australia right now, it's going up to 30 to 40%. And that's where restaurants there are saying, well, they've kind of got me, because I've got all these orders that come through. I don't want to turn down orders. And so then they just keep bumping commissions up. So you're sort of wanting to make sure that you're getting in bed with the right company, I suppose.
I don't think any of those work right now. I think they're going to start merging at one point where it makes sense, right? I don't think the consumers aren't winning because they're paying a little more for the delivery services. Restaurants aren't winning because they're not making the full profit, and I bet that most of these delivery companies aren't making that money either. With their cost and their infrastructure, we don't know their money. We don't know where a lot of their stuff is going either. Well,
again, labor is a massive cost of any company, and from what I understand is a lot of their drivers are contractors. Yeah. So just like with Uber, so you're getting paid for what you do and deliver. So labor is not a big cost of these companies. So yeah, I don't know their numbers, so I'm not going to speak to that, but it is something that consumers are going to pay more. Yeah. Restaurants are going to. That's all it comes down.
It comes down to the consumers, what the consumers want, right? If consumers want to go to the restaurants, they'll find a way there. If they want the Uber Eats and all these other companies, then that's going to work. But I think there's going to be a middle ground coming soon.
Hopefully, yeah. Did that sort of answer that?
Yeah. No, I think so. I mean, it wasn't so much. It was just kind of the question was any thoughts. So yeah, it's personal thoughts. The next question is from Lo. Do you think people can be successful in this day and age without the use of social media? Like zero social media and only a website? Asking because it's so distracting. How have you handled this in a hospitality setting?
TripAdvisor and Yelp have been huge for us. So I would lump that into social media, because it is people online and interacting with each other. If you've got a good product, good customer service, people are going to talk about you. Word of mouth has always, been the biggest advertising and marketing anyone could ever do. So yeah, this is just that on steroids now. If you have a restaurant and you are not on social media, you better be so goddamn good that people are literally chatting to each other in the street. Yeah. Otherwise, you can be the best of the best, and you're just going to get more business coming in through social media. So Alex and I have had that conversation of like, oh God, how would we have done this without social media? Because, our pies, we have made them, we didn't make it look like that for social media. It just happened that people love taking photos. It was just oh wow, this is great. This is happened around the time that people love coming in and taking photos of our product. But at the same time, when you go on and look at our reviews on TripAdvisor and Yelp, and it is a way for us to then chat back to our customers when we can't be in there every day. And so when someone writes a review and says, "Oh my God, thank you for opening. I haven't had a pie in 30 years." We can personally then go on, even though I've missed them in the store, and say, "Oh, great! This is exactly where we opened because we wanted to, make sure someone like you could get a pie and love it." So social media is huge in the restaurant industry, as long as you're good, as long as you're doing everything well. Because if you're not, then the opposite's obviously going to happen.
That'll be the opposite, exactly.
So there's been that unfortunate incident, obviously, of the chowder soup, that in Gastown that had one negative thing and closed down. That's obviously something that you've got to have in the back of your head. There's always a good and a bad side for everything, but touch wood, for the moment, for most good restaurants, social media is everything, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I think today, if you're not on social media in any business, not just hospitality and restaurants, in any business, you're you're going to be lost here in the next little while.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where people communicate. That's where people live today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? They're living on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I said Instagram twice.
Well, and it depends on your industry, really. Restaurants especially, I think, need to be on Instagram or, have something on YouTube because people like to see it.
It's visual.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's what's it called, a new social media that comes out you can smell the food. Yeah. Jump on that platform fast. So jump on that one fast, right? But yeah, it is. It definitely is. It's what your eyes see, and then they start looking at what other people think about it, and they want to test it, and they go and they see a lineup of 30 deep.
Yeah.
And they're lining up. I don't. I get pissed off and I leave.
Well, and to give you an idea, we have seen. We were the number 3 restaurant on TripAdvisor in Whistler since we opened. Basically, we sometimes we went to number 2 once, and then we dropped down to number 4. But we've consistently been number 3 restaurant in Vancouver. We made it to number 7 out of 3,000 restaurants.
Wow.
Restaurants. Now, this is where they say, to me, when you look up a restaurant, you go in, you sit down, you eat a meal, you can get a coffee, whatever, you can eat something. TripAdvisor has now created a new category called quick bites. You can't really search that, like you have to actually go in and use a filter to find quick bites. So they have removed us from restaurants and into quick bites. Our sales have actually since then, we also then get the analytics from TripAdvisor. Our page, people jumping into our pages, everything's dropped, and we've tried to contact them to say, why have you created this category? This isn't something that someone goes, oh, let's go get a quick bite. Let's look up quick bite. People either look up a cafe, or they might look up a coffee shop, or they tend to look up a restaurant. And we, on TripAdvisor, there's an owners section. It's happening all over the world. There's a number 1 burger restaurant in Hawaii, in Honolulu or something. They've been the number 1 for 10 years. They've disappeared off basically the TripAdvisor platform for people looking. So it's really affecting the places like ourselves, who really prided ourselves on creating really good service, really good food, and being at the top of our game. And we have noticed a drop. And TripAdvisor, you're fighting a giant. They don't care.
We're gonna clip this part that you just said. We'll give it to you. You can run that on your page. Run that paid ads. Just get the word out there. I think it's an important one. I think you should even be contacting the burger joint in Honolulu and talk to them about this. It's just message, right? And then just tag as many people as you can on it, and go from there, and then just try to win the battle here. I think it's a really good clip.
It's because it's would you Google? Let's just Google quick bites.
No.
It's not something that you Google. And,
no, exactly.
And TripAdvisor has said to us, this is helping our customers. Because people were complaining that they would look up a restaurant and they would go in and it wasn't a fine dining restaurant. It's like, well, people are not that silly. People can read, oh, this is a quick service. It's a fast casual. Like, there's a whole bunch of restaurants that fall under restaurant, but it's essentially somewhere to go and eat. Maybe if we were an ice creamery, that's not somewhere where you can get breakfast, lunch and dinner like you can at Peaked Pies. Yes, we might only sell a pie, but we also have a salad and we have some different things on the menu, but we don't have 20 different items that are all different. And that's what they're sort of saying is, well, you're only doing sort of one type of thing, but is where a lot of these successful now
I get where they're coming from, but quick bite, that just doesn't, it's not something that people say.
No, I know. And I'm Australian, you're Canadian. It's two different sides of the world. No one says it. It's so insane. It's just it kind of is a little bit heartbreaking when you kind of like, you've been like 7 out of 3,000 restaurants in Vancouver, and now we're just gone.
Yeah, that's
gone from there. So, yeah, it's tough.
Not a fan of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's it for questions. I will ask though, just kind of lastly here. Like what's I know you said you're opening up in Burnaby. Mm-hmm. Just I guess what's long game here moving forward for you guys? And
so after Burnaby's sort of one of our bigger, is going to be sort of a bit of a bigger operation, and we've now installed sort of a kitchen in Whistler, a kitchen in Vancouver, and now a kitchen in Burnaby. We'll be able to, from these kitchens, sort of have other little hole in the walls going forward, which are smaller footprint, less rent, less costs to us, and then we get right now a lot of requests for pubs, like English pubs or Irish pubs or different venues wanting to sell our pies like wholesale. And at the moment we've had to say no just because we can't keep up with our own demands of our own stores, but having the third location should be able to cover that, and we'll actually be able to start saying yes. Yeah. So that's now, as we said, trying to get a pie into everybody's hands is the end goal, and we'd love to see ourselves grow across the country. So
yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. All right, guys, check out Peaked Pies. They have one on Denman Street and another one on Whistler Village. We'll have the addresses and everything. Can I have the address? Yeah, we'll have the links on the podcast here and on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, everywhere.
Amazing.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you very much.
Next time, Alex, you need to show up with the cast iron.
As long as we have the little 9. Well, he won't be 9 months old. He'll probably be walking then. He'll run around.
Yeah, bring Bob on. Bob, right?
No, I just say Bub. My Bub. Okay. Paxton.
Bob. Paxton and Alex need to come in next time.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming down. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.